Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into one of the most, astonishing stories of public scandal and, well, private trauma we've seen in a while.
Absolutely. We're looking at the Chrisley family. They went from this huge reality TV stardom, all that opulence.
Right. Chrisley knows best.
Exactly. To the stark reality of federal prison.
Exactly.
And then somehow this dramatic return to the screen after this just extraordinary political intervention.
It's quite a roller coaster.
It really is. And we've got a ton of source material here for this deep dive. It covers basically everything, the financial crimes, the details of those.
The conviction itself.
Right. Then their experiences inside, which sound pretty rough. The family fallout, which was major.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then the shock pardon, the presidential pardon, and bam, they immediately launch a new show, The Chrisleys. Back to reality.
It's a massive story. So our job here is to kind of synthesize all this. What does this very raw, very unfiltered return actually reveal?
Yeah, I mean, how do you even survive a scandal like that publicly? And then how do you try to repair all that trauma again publicly?
Okay, let's unpack this. Maybe we should start by setting the scene. Just how famous were they? And then dive into the complexity of the crimes that brought it all down.
Right. To really get the scale of the crisis, you got to remember the image they projected. Todd and Julie Chrisley. Their main show, Chrisley Knows Best, it was on USA Network for 10 seasons. That's a long run.
10 seasons, wow. From 2014 right up to 2023.
Yeah, and they were like the picture of this wealthy, super witty Southern Christian family.
Yeah.
The designer clothes, the mansions.
And all the drama, the over-the-top family stuff.
Totally. And that success spun off into Growing Up Chrisley, too, from 2019 to 2022.
So it really built this whole media thing around the family, this image of massive wealth.
Exactly. But here's the thing the sources really highlight. Federal prosecutors argued that the foundation of that wealth, well, it was built on fraud. And a lot of it happened before the TV show even started.
Okay, so it wasn't just TV money issues.
No, not initially. The legal problems really hit in 2018, 2019. A federal grand jury indicted them on 12 counts.
12. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And serious stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. We're talking major financial felonies. Bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit bank fraud, conspiracy to defraud the U.S., tax evasion, serious charges.
Okay, let's break that down a bit for people who aren't, legal eagles. Bank fraud, wire fraud. What exactly were they accused of doing there? Like, how did the deception work?
Well, according to the prosecution, it was kind of a two-part scheme covering different periods. First, the bank fraud part. They alleged Todd and Julie submitted fake documents to banks.
Fake documents? Like what?
Things like fabricated bank statements, phony credit reports, stuff like that. The idea was to get these huge loans, like over $36 million in total.
$36 million?
Yeah, by making it look like they had way more money than they actually did. And that's how they funded that really lavish lifestyle even before the TV show money came in.
Okay, so they lied about their finances to get loans they couldn't really afford. The banks were the first victims, essentially.
Right. Then phase 2 kicks in once they become reality stars. That's where the tax evasion charges come from.
How did that work?
Well, the allegations center on their production company, 7 Seas Productions. The sources claim they use this company basically to hide income from their federal tax returns.
Ah, okay, so funneling money through the company to avoid taxes.
Exactly. That led to charges of conspiracy to defraud the United States and tax evasion. So you've got this situation where their public fame, fueled by the show, is tangled up with the very financial dealings the government was investigating.
And they denied everything, right? Fought it hard in court.
Vehemently denied it all. But the jury, well, they were convinced by the prosecution's evidence.
So guilty on all counts.
Guilty on all counts in 2022. And the initial sentences were brutal. Todd got 12 years.
12?
And Julie got 7 years, plus 16-month probation each.
That's almost 2 decades combined initially.
Yeah. Now, those sentences did get reduced slightly in September 2023, but still, they started serving time in January 2023.
Where do they end up?
Todd went to Federal Prison Camp Pensacola down in Florida, and Julie went to the Federal Medical Center Lexington in Kentucky.
Okay, those are different types of facilities. FPC Pensacola is minimum security, right? Sometimes called club fed, though I'm sure it's not exactly a club.
Right, minimum security, but still very much prison. And FMC Lexington, that indicates it handles inmates with specific medical needs, though Julie was reportedly in the general population part.
The main point is they were locked up. Separated.
Yeah.
In completely unfamiliar, restrictive places.
Totally. And that separation, that's really the start of this next incredibly painful chapter for them.
Yeah, this is where that glossy TV image just shatters against the reality of prison, isn't it? The sources point out Todd and Julie, married since '96. They were used to constant contact.
Constant, talking all day, every day, texting, calling if they weren't together, apparently very codependent in that way.
Which must have made being incarcerated and separated just incredibly difficult.
Immense strain, especially the communication breakdown. Their daughter, Savannah, she said publicly, this was in February 2025, that her parents hadn't spoken a single word to each other for 2 years.
2 years. Not because they were fighting.
No, not fighting. According to Savannah, it was because the Bureau of Prisons allegedly made communication really, really difficult. Visits, mail, email. She claimed it was almost impossible because of red tape and sort of arbitrary rules.
Wow, 2 years of forced silence between a married couple facing that kind of sentence. That's profound. And you see Julie talking about her specific hardships.
Yeah, the sources mention her pain over missing big family moments, milestones, birthdays, holidays, graduations, presumably, and just that agony of not being able to connect with Todd.
And Todd felt it too, obviously. Missing that daily connection, the physical presence of family.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But it wasn't just emotional pain. The sources detail some really startling allegations about the physical conditions, especially from Todd's perspective at FPC Pensacola.
Right, he spoke out a lot after he got out. What did he say about the conditions there? Wasn't the club-fed image some people have?
Far from it, according to him. Todd described the place as disgustingly filthy. That's his quote.
Okay.
And even more seriously, he made claims about the food and safety. Said
Yeah.
the prison food was often expired by, quote, at minimum, a year.
A year. Expired by a year.
That's what he claimed. Said they weren't getting enough food either, alleging inmates were being starved, basically. Starving these men to death, he said, getting only about 1,000 calories a day.
Those are really serious accusations. If that's true, that points to major problems in that facility.
Huge problems. And it seems Todd didn't exactly keep quiet while inside. He actually worked as an assistant to the prison chaplain.
Huh. Interesting role. Which brings us to that anecdote that got so much attention.
Yeah.
His run-in with William Rick Singer.
Oh, yes, the Rick Singer story. Todd shared this on Savannah's podcast, Unlocked. It's a really interesting look at, the social dynamics among high-profile prisoners.
Because Singer, the mastermind of the college admission scandal, was at FPC Pensacola at the same time.
Exactly. Side by side, essentially.
So what happened? The first interaction was just verbal, right?
Yeah. Todd said Singer was talking about writing a book, and Todd apparently told him he hoped the first chapter called him the biggest snitch in America.
Ouch.
Yeah, and then basically told him to stay away. But things apparently escalated months later.
And the trigger involved family, which seems to be a pattern with Todd.
Always family. Todd, alleged Singer, started talking us about Savannah, specifically about her very public fight to get them out, her activism.
Okay, that would definitely set Todd off.
Absolutely. Todd's alleged response was, well, pretty graphic. He claims he went right up to Singer and said something like, I'm going to say this one more time. I will rip your head off and shit down your neck if you talk about my child again.
Whoa. That's intense.
Super intense. Todd says Singer left him alone after that.
That story really paints a picture of the tension inside. And it's ironic, right? Because outside, Savannah was doing exactly what Todd was defending. She completely changed her whole public persona.
Totally. Went from reality star and influencer to this full-time prison reform activist. She used her platform relentlessly to fight their case.
How did she approach it? It sounds like she was pretty aggressive.
Extremely. She called it her scorched earth strategy against the federal government. She was everywhere. Interviews, podcasts, social media, talking about the alleged corruption in their case, the bad prison conditions, always insisting they were innocent.
And she took it into politics too, right? I remember seeing something about the RNC.
Yeah, that was a key move. She spoke at the 2024 Republican National Convention, really aligning their fight with a specific political movement.
Which makes sense, because legally, their appeals weren't getting anywhere, were they? So politics was maybe the only path left.
Exactly. Legal appeals take forever and often fail. Executive clemency, a pardon, that was the fastest, maybe the only route to freedom at that point.
And it worked. It actually worked.
Incredibly, yes. Big gamble, huge payoff.
Right.
May 27, 2025, President Donald Trump grants Todd and Julie full presidential pardons.
Full pardons. Not commutation, which just shortens the sentence.
Correct. A full pardon essentially wipes the slate clean, legally speaking, for the federal conviction. It's as if it never happened in the eyes of the federal government. They were released the very next day, May 28th.
Just incredible speed. What was the justification given?
Well, the messaging around it framed it as correcting an injustice. White House Communications Advisor Harrison Field said President Trump reviewed the case and felt what happened is not what should be happening in our country. And Trump himself reportedly said something like, I don't know them, but give them my regards and wish them good luck. It was presented as helping well-deserving Americans get a second chance.
So after years of fighting the conviction in court, failing, then a year and a half in prison, separated, Savannah's intense public campaign, they get their freedom through the highest political office.
Yeah.
But while all that was happening, the family itself was kind of falling apart.
Yeah, the sources make it really clear that the kids bore the brunt of this, the collateral damage. And Savannah especially, she was only 27.
And she basically became the head of the household overnight.
Completely. Took on this massive weight, not just a legal guardian for her younger brother, Grayson, who was 17 then,
Okay.
and her niece, Chloe, who they adopted, she's 12, but also managing everything for Todd and Julie, inside commissary money, communication attempts, all that, plus looking after Nanny Faye.
That's an unbelievable amount of responsibility for someone in their 20s.
It's staggering. And she described it herself, trying to be a positive role model for the kids while basically being in combat mode 24/7, fighting the government, managing legal stuff, finances, using those scorched earth tactics she mentioned, the emotional load, the practical load, just huge.
And that kind of pressure, it had to affect the other siblings, right? Particularly Chase. How did he handle it?
Chase, who's 29, seemed to really struggle. Maybe he couldn't process it the same way or take on that same fighting role Savannah adopted. She actually described him as a blank shell during the crisis.
A blank shell. Wow. And his struggles became public, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. He got arrested for simple battery in January 2025. His lawyer said it was minor, blown out of proportion, but still an arrest.
Right.
And then, more significantly perhaps, in September 2025, he checked himself into rehab for alcohol struggles.
Okay, so very different coping mechanisms. Savannah channeled it into activism. Chase seemed to internalize it, leading to substance issues and legal trouble.
Exactly. And this created a really painful divide between them.
A sibling rift.
A major one. The sources show Savannah telling her parents, quite bluntly, our household is completely divided. She even said she didn't know if her relationship with Chase could be repaired.
Oof, that's heartbreaking. The external crisis just tearing the family apart internally.
Deeply. Personal betrayals, separation, right within the immediate family.
And what about Grayson? He was just becoming an adult when this all went down. Todd always called him the one with the tender heart.
Yeah, Grayson's reaction sounds like it was really raw, very emotional. He apparently had a full breakdown after the sentencing.
Understandable.
He talked openly about feeling bitter having to fly back and forth for prison visits, which you can imagine is a huge burden.
Yeah, that's a lot for a teenager.
He described this awful conflict, feeling pressure to just live his own life, go to college, do normal young adult things, but then feeling incredibly guilty if he didn't make the trip to visit his parents in prison.
That's a terrible position to be in. Did he manage to start college?
He did, yeah. Started at the University of Alabama in January 2025, despite everything going on.
Good for him, trying to find some normalcy.
For sure. And we should probably touch on Todd's older kids from his first marriage to Teresa Terry. Their relationships were already kind of complicated, right?
Right. Lindsay, his daughter, she had reconciled with Todd just before the sentencing, hadn't she?
She had, yeah, in 2022. But it seems like that closeness didn't really last through the prison sentence.
Oh, what happened?
Well, by March 2025, Lindsay, who's 36 now, said she hadn't visited Todd in over a year. And she confirmed she never visited Julie in prison at all.
Never.
Yeah. She apparently said something like, I have not seen my dad in quite some time, and I have had no contact. So it sounds like a significant step back in their relationship during arguably the hardest time of his life.
Okay. What about Kyle, his son from the first marriage?
Kyle's situation seems a bit different. He's 34, and he'd also reconciled with Todd after his own public struggles with addiction.
Right.
And he was apparently ecstatic about the pardon. For Kyle, it seemed like a moment of hope. He expressed wanting a full reconciliation with his dad. Maybe the shared trauma of the whole ordeal opened a door there, potentially.
Interesting how differently the kids reacted and how the relationships shifted. Which brings us to the next, maybe most surprising, chapter. Putting it all back on TV. immediately.
Yeah, given everything we've just discussed, the trauma, the prison time, the family division, the pardon fight, the most predictable Chrisley move was, maybe ironically, to go right back to reality TV.
It really is their brand, isn't it? So, the Chrisleys. Back to reality. The timing is just wild.
Insane. They get out May 28th. The show premieres September 1st and 2nd. That's like 3 months later.
A 2-night event on Lifetime. That fast turnaround, it suggests they were already filming before the pardon, right?
Yeah.
Documenting the struggle.
Almost certainly. The production company is Bunna Murray Productions.
Oh, okay. They're legends in reality TV. The real world, keeping up with the Kardashians. They know how to handle intense personal stuff.
Exactly. Choosing them signals this isn't going to be the light, fluffy Chrisley Knows Best. This is going to be different.
And the show's premise basically says that.
Yeah.
The raw truth, past and present.
Yeah. Raw truth of the Chrisleys' lives, past and present. That's the promise. The cast is the core group. Todd, Julie, Chase, Savannah, Grayson, Chloe, Nanny Faye.
But new faces, too.
Yes, significantly, Julie's parents, Harvey and Pam, are joining the cast for the first time.
That's interesting. Why bring them in now?
Well, it suggests they need that wider family perspective, right, to show the full impact of everything. And maybe to offer some outside commentary on the internal family dynamics, the chaos, which the trailer definitely hints at.
Okay, let's talk about the trailer. It seems like it hits some familiar notes, but also goes deeper.
For sure. You get Todd's typical humor, joking from prison about needing to get out before he needs a facelift. Classic Todd.
Right, but then the heavier stuff hits hard.
Oh, yeah. You hear Chase, the blank shell son, saying, not having my parents around almost felt like a death. That's powerful language. Grief.
Yeah, it really shows the depth of what the kids went through. And Savannah.
Savannah's shown in tears, talking about how hard it was watching her parents surrender, just leave.
And the actual reunion moment, that must be central to the show's launch.
It's the big emotional hook. You see Julie getting out of the car after release. And the first thing you notice, her hair is dark, her natural color.
Oh, right. Not the signature blonde. That's a statement in itself.
Totally. A visual symbol of maybe being stripped down, changed by the experience. She hugs Chloe first, then Todd. And he's clearly emotional, wiping tears.
What did you say? Her first words back?
Simple, but loaded. She just says, well, we survived, we survived. It frames their whole narrative. Survival, overcoming adversity.
But then reality bites back, right? Through her mom.
Exactly. Julie's mom, Pam, gives them that dose of reality. She says something like, life after this will never be like it is. Or maybe like it was.
Right, that things won't just snap back to the way they were, sets up the conflict.
Definitely. The parents might want the old life, but the family is different now, although you do get a flash of the old banter. Todd jokes about Julie's dark hair. I never thought I'd be with a dark-headed woman, but I'm willing to try it tonight.
Huh. Okay, so some things never change. But the sources mention specific episode plots that show they are tackling the tough stuff, the internal conflict.
Absolutely. The show seems structured to maximize the drama of the whole ordeal. Like, episodes 4 and 5 apparently focus on the family getting terrible news that a pardon they were expecting was not coming through at that moment.
Oh, wow. So they build that low point.
Right, which makes the actual pardon, when it suddenly happens, even more dramatic for the viewers watching the show.
Smart producing. And the dysfunction doesn't stop once they're out.
Nope. Episode 6 is called Freedom Frenzy. But it's apparently about how Chase, Nanny Faye, Pam, and Harvey get excluded from the actual plan to bring Todd and Julie home.
Excluded? Why?
Maybe for control, maybe logistics, who knows? But it causes increasing tensions immediately. Shows how their need for a managed release clash with what the rest of the family expected or wanted.
And that tension with Chase specifically continues.
Right through the season, it seems. Episode 7 shows Chase being enraged because he gets left out of a family interview, reinforces that rift Savannah talked about. And the finale, episode 8, it focuses on Todd and Julie facing the complicated road ahead, while Chase is shown trying to stand on his own 2 feet. So the show is absolutely using the legal drama as a framework to explore these really deep family divisions.
Okay, so wrapping this all together, maybe the most crucial part of this deep dive is understanding the narrative the family wants to project now. How are they framing this whole nightmare?
The key framing is that it wasn't just punishment, it was necessary. A trial by fire, almost.
Necessary? How so?
Todd explicitly says the experience was necessary. He believes it put the family through a season of being in the fire, and that crucible made them stronger.
Yeah.
It reframes the whole thing from a legal catastrophe to, like, a spiritual test they pass.
And Todd himself claims he's changed because of it, moved beyond the materialism.
He definitely presents himself as transformed, says he gained a clearer focus, feels humbled. He talks about learning to process other people's pain, seeing the heart behind the canvas, suggesting he's less judgmental now.
Hmm.
He even acknowledges, maybe carefully, that he should have been a better steward of his business affairs. It's not quite admitting guilt, but it's acknowledging mismanagement, perhaps.
Right. And this whole idea of transformation, it ties directly into why they say they're back on TV, doesn't it? It's not just for the show itself.
No, their stated primary goal is bigger: to expose the truth. They are sticking to their guns, insisting they never committed those crimes.
So the show is basically their new courtroom, the court of public opinion.
Exactly. They feel the legal system failed them, so now they're taking their case directly to the viewers via reality TV. It's an incredibly bold strategy.
And they're saying they have proof. They're going
And
to present evidence.
that's the plan. They're launching a website alongside the show. Viewers can supposedly log in, find documents that are referenced on screen, and read the Chrisley side of the story, including their allegations of corruption.
Corruption. Against whom?
They're naming names, specifically targeting former prosecutors involved in their case, Annalise Peters and Tommy Krapp. They claim these individuals have been demoted or left the government since the trial.
Whoa. To make those kinds of allegations on national TV against federal prosecutors, that's huge. And potentially legally risky, isn't it?
Extremely risky. It's the core of their entire comeback narrative, though. They're also focusing heavily on a key witness from the trial, Mark Braddock.
What about him?
Todd claims he's found out that Braddock is now reportedly under investigation by the FBI himself for allegedly lying under oath during their trial. By putting that out there, they're trying to completely undermine the credibility of the case against them after the fact.
So the narrative shifts entirely. They're not convicted felons, they're victims of a corrupt system.
Precisely. Victims of malicious prosecution, faulty witnesses. It's a narrative that definitely finds traction in certain political circles today, and Savannah's attitude is key to selling this.
Right, her refusal to accept shame.
Yeah, that lesson she apparently gave her dad. I will not feel shame over what has happened to our family. Because, as she put it, when you adopt that shame, you empower it. That defiance allows them to go on the offensive like this, using reality TV as their weapon. #TAC outro.
What a journey we've covered today. I mean, from the absolute heights of reality TV fame, down through years of prison, separation, family breakdown,
Yeah.
then back to freedom via this unbelievable presidential pardon.
And then immediately, cameras rolling again, putting the messy, painful process of rebuilding their lives, their family, and fighting their legal battle publicly right back on display.
Yeah, we've really traced how fame turned into confinement, how that trauma ripped through the family unit, especially the kids, and how, in the end, political influence, not legal appeals, was their path out. This deep dive really shows a family needing to shatter and then figure out how to put the pieces back together using the same spotlight that maybe contributed to the pressure in the first place.
And that stated goal for the new show, using it to prove their innocence, alleging corruption, sharing documents directly with the public, that's maybe the most fascinating twist here.
Yeah, they're framing the whole ordeal, the prison time, as necessary for growth. And now they're offering what they call the raw truth to millions, while we simultaneously watch them navigate these incredibly broken relationships, especially between Todd, Julie, Chase, and Savannah.
Right. So it leaves you with a pretty big question, doesn't it? Here's a family using reality television, this inherently curated, often manipulated format, to argue for what they claim is the absolute unvarnished truth about their innocence, about government corruption, felony convictions.
While also living out their very real family drama on screen.
Exactly. So what does all this really mean for the idea of truth itself in reality TV, especially when the stakes are this high freedom, felony records, presidential pardons, deep family wounds? It's a question that kind of hangs over the whole media landscape right now, and certainly something to think about as you watch the Chrisleys. Back to reality.